Hi, I'm Fred Schultz, and I am doing a hunger strike for voting rights, joining Joe Madison in his hunger strike for voting rights. However, I also am doing this because I pray that he stops his soon so that he lives. I already have been doing mine almost 3 days, and I'll be doing it 4 more days. I figure a 1 week is good. I'm just living on tea. I added in turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, hot pepper powder, and lemon juice, just to increase the fast. And I might have some vitamins. Again, I don't want to die, and I'm really worried that Joe will die because although he is on a liquid fast, but I'm still sure that he's greatly restricting his calories and might die. Gandhi did 17 fasts, and the longest one he did was 21 days, and he did almost die after 21 days. Joe is already up to 12, and he says that he's going to continue doing this even though Congress is going on a break, and that'll be at least 7, 8 more days, and he'll be up to where Gandhi is. I'm just really worried he's going to die then. So that's why I started my fast a few days ago, so that he doesn't die, but we can still keep up the fight for voting rights. So I'm doing a 1 week fast, and then I request that any of you out there sign up and somehow will, if you're willing to, will, comment on Joe's page and just say, oh, I'll do the next week, and I'll do the next week, and I'll do the next week, and we could keep this rolling for a long time. As far as why I'm doing this, I mean, yes, it's for these Voting Rights Act that Joe is fasting for. There's the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which prevents discrimination on the basis of race or ethnicity or language. By the way, my petition to get on the California gubernatorial campaign in this last recall election was thrown out because I printed out most of the names and addresses for the people who signed, and even though I had and then had them sign. Even though I had way more than 100, 65, way more than the necessary 65, they still banned me from the ballot and kept my $4,200, which I need to survive. That is a literacy test. If you require people to be able to print their names and addresses, that is a literacy test. It was banned by the 1965 Voting Rights Act. So voting restrictions are alive and well. I sued, and then the Trump-supporting judge denied me, threw it out, and then I appealed, and then some 3-judge panel threw it out, and I couldn't afford to keep going, so I stopped. But I might have won later. I don't know. Should have. Can't trust these judges, though. They also threw out my case to throw out Trump, to first try to block Roberts from swearing him in, and then to throw him out because the Electoral College is unconstitutional because it violates our rights to an equal vote. That's another thing I am fasting for, is for an equal vote. And I'm sure Joe supports an equal vote. He just figured he wouldn't fast till then because it might take a while. But fact is, in 1992, the Senate, George H.W. Bush signed and sent to the Senate for ratification. The Senate ratified the 1992, the ICCPR, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. It's one of the 2 treaties that were codifying the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The other one was for economic and social rights that most of the nations in the world have signed, and the U.S. has not. But a treaty is a law of the land. So by signing that ICCPR, they made it the law of the land. Now, there was a tiny footnote where they say, oh, this is not self-enacting. But number one, you can't just write a footnote. You can't say you're not going to sign it for years and years and years, decades, and then finally, since Jimmy Carter had sent it to the Senate decades earlier, and then, and when Carter sent it to the Senate, he did have the Justice Department evaluate it, and they said he sent both treaties to the Senate, and the Justice Department evaluated both treaties and said both treaties are completely compliant with the Constitution. Now, as I said, they did stick in this footnote saying it's not, quote, self-enacting. But that's a cheat and not necessarily legal at all. I don't believe it's legal, but also it's ridiculous. If they sign the treaty, it means what they say, and they can't get out of it by writing a footnote. It's self-enacting whether they want it to be or not. Otherwise, it means nothing. And what it said is that and also the U.S. signed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So whether they want to admit that it was self-enacting or not, we signed it in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and promised to enforce all citizens of the world, and every country promises to honor their own citizens' rights to, quote, universal and equal suffrage, and the right to run for office, which they violated me by throwing me off the ballot even though I had enough signatures, and paid them the $4,200. And charging people $4,200 is not universal right to run for office when half of America can't afford a $500 hit, and that was before the pandemic. In any case, the heart of my case is also not just the ICCPR, but also the 14th Amendment, which promises us to uphold our equal protection of the laws, and that even though it was passed right after the Civil War, and thousands of Americans died for that, it was not enforced until the 1960s, after the Civil Rights Movement, which Martin Luther King and MLK died for not meaning to. By the way, MLK had turned to to advocating peace and nonviolence in his last days, just so you know. I'm so happy these people were freed after wrongfully being in jail for decades, too. Well, one of them. The other one died recently before being exonerated. But a real travesty that they spent decades in jail and then they're finally exonerated decades later. It's disgusting. And it does show that, probably a large percentage of people in jail for anything are innocent. I'll just explain for a minute. That's another reason why I'm fasting, is to try to free the millions of people innocent in jail. And not just, those who are wrongfully convicted, although certainly them. And by the way, just so you know, eyewitness testimony is the most relied upon kind of testimony, most relied upon by juries, and it's been proved to be the least reliable. So, many people on death row, many people who have been murdered by the state, many people who are in for decades are completely innocent. Besides that, the U.S. arrests, it's hard to get the exact number, 10 to 15 million people a week. A year, sorry. We're not there yet. And mostly for victimless crimes. And the fact is, when you have laws, I've studied this. It's hard to get an exact number, but it looks like 33% of the American adults have a criminal record. So when you combine that with the fact that what happens is you have laws that make a majority of Americans criminals, by definition, if they were caught, like drug use, sex work, either doing it or employing people to do it. Even the drinking and driving laws, completely unconstitutional. And they arrest innocent people, but they also arrest people who aren't even a danger, and they don't even live up to their own standard. First of all, those blood alcohol levels are way lower than most people can drive. Most people can drive safely at those levels, but beyond that, there's the New York Times did a study about 2 years ago, and found that every breathalyzer machine out there gives a false positive by 10 to 40% higher. I was wrongfully convicted twice 20 years ago for drinking and driving. I was not impaired, and I was not even over the limit, but according to their tests, I was just on the limit, and it turns out now that their tests lied. And by the way, after you get your first DUI, or a lot of these other crimes, after you're arrested for anything, then the standards for your second crime go way down. For instance, after your first DUI, standard for second DUI goes from 0.1, or now it's 0.08 percent blood alcohol to any detectable amount, which is ridiculous. My point is, besides 10 to 15 million wrongful arrests a year, there's about 70 to 100 million people with criminal records, maybe more. But I want to pardon all of those convicted of victims' crimes and most of those who are in just too long. All of those who are in too long. That's why I keep running for president. That's one of the reasons. Besides, having a wealth tax, we can raise taxes on the super rich and lower them for everyone else. By super rich, I mean net worth over 10 million. And the other reason is to free most of these people in jail. We have 2.3 million Americans in jail, and about 2 million we could free easily and pardon about 100 million. And that's why I'm doing this also. And to stop them from even, to stop them from implementing these victimless crimes which are unconstitutional. And when I say unconstitutional, does it say that anywhere in the Constitution? Well, not exactly, but it does say, the Ninth Amendment does say, nothing in here shall be read to take away our other basic rights. And they greatly understood, the founders of our nation and writers of the Constitution understood that victimless crimes were unconstitutional. Now you could say, well, what about if you shoot into an open crowd? Well, that does have victims. Even if you don't hit somebody, you scare the crap out of everyone, and then you can provoke a shooting, like this evil Kyle Rittenhouse. Somebody else shot a gun, and then somebody in the crowd got scared that he was going to shoot and ran to try to get his gun, and then Kyle shot him, and then somebody else, all trying to disarm him, just because somebody had shot in the air. Can't believe this jury just found him not guilty. It has to be a reasonable fear of death. When somebody is just chasing you and because they want to take away your gun because somebody else just shot a gun off, that's not reasonable to shoot somebody, murder them, and then murder somebody else, and then blow off somebody else's arm. Even that blowing off of the arm, I'm sorry. In that case, the guy was pointing a gun at him to try to get him to stop. First he had his hands up. Then when Kyle kept pointing the gun at him, he pulled out a gun but didn't fire it. When you pull a gun, usually if you pull it, you're going to try to shoot it. But obviously he was thinking he wanted to just try to disarm him. But Kyle then decided to shoot off his arm, his bicep. Even though the guy could have taken the shot and purposely didn't and wasn't going to shoot him. He already had the first shot. The other guy did. Anyway, there's many people wrongfully convicted, usually black, and there's many people wrongfully freed, usually white. But as far as these wrongful arrests, the U.S. and the people wrongfully in jail, yes, the arrest rates are disproportionately of black and brown people, but half the people in jail are white, and half of these wrongful arrests are of white people. It's not just about race. It's about the government crushing all of us by passing laws that make the majority of us criminals and then using mass surveillance so we're all scared that they'll catch us so they keep us in line. That's what's going on. We have to stop this mass surveillance too. But this is why I'm fasting. This is why I beg you to fast for a week after I'm done with mine on Tuesday around 5 p.m. All right, I love you all. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And please, Joe, stop your fast so that I can continue it for a week, then someone else can. I met somebody the other day, a friend of mine, who told me that churches often do a fast for a cause this way, a rolling fast. And that's what we should do so we all stay strong to fight for justice for the rest of our lives. Love you, Joe. Love you all. Thank you, Joe, for doing this. I'm very moved. You're the best. I love you all. I'm going to start listening to your show, but I'm going to have to only when I can afford Sirius XM, which I can't right now, but soon. All right, love you all. Talk to you soon. Bye. And happy Thanksgiving. But enough of this oppression of the Native Americans, and we have to view this holiday for what it really is. It's thanking God that we made it to this land and that we're here and that most of our ancestors would have died if they had stayed overseas. But they should not have murdered and massacred the Native Americans who were here, and that's a real crime, and we have to do all we can to give justice for them and to save the world now and to Help all people who are suffering. Feed everyone. And please quit sugar. Please quit sugar. Well, quit it for a week. Do a 10-day detox and then do no more than 5 teaspoons of added sugar a day. And quit processed food. Just eat real food, mostly vegetables, some fish is what I do. Look up Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Weil, anti-inflammation diet. Anti-inflammation diet is the way to, survive COVID. If you get it and you're unvaxxed, even if you get it and you're vaxxed, you can get. I got COVID, then I got vaxxed, then I got COVID, then I got vaxxed. Go to the anti-inflammation diet. It'll save you from COVID. It'll prevent 2/3 of all deaths and most disease too: cancer, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, hypertension, Alzheimer's. I can't remember the rest. Just about every disease. About 42 out of 56 million deaths a year are preventable through proper diet. So study up. Okay, love you all. But please, vax. And wear a mask if you're not vaxxed. And let's start vaxing the whole world within a few months. That's what we owe the world. We could easily do that. Well, it would cost several $billions, but we can do it within 3 months. All right. And then we have to feed the world safe food. None of this crap poisonous soda. In Mexico, you can't even get water. You can only get soda. So even if you want to quit sugar in Mexico, you can't. Because the soda companies bought up all the water. All right, enough. Love you. Please, happy Thanksgiving. And please, sign up on Joe's site to start a week fast. Join me, and then I'll be done on Tuesday. Then please sign up. Whoever's next gets to fast on Thanksgiving. And then another and another. If you don't want to do a week, say, okay, I'll do 2 days. I'll do 3 days. But you can do a week. First 3 days are the hardest, I hear. And it's been nothing. All right, love you all. Talk to you soon. Bye.